My name's Ryan, and I'm 33 now, but the story I'm about to tell you happened when I was just 18. Old enough to vote, technically an adult, but still naive enough to believe that family meant safety, that your family wouldn't turn on you for a laugh, that you could be the quiet one and still be seen. I was wrong. Growing up, I was the extra sibling. Not the baby. That was my sister Kelsey. Not the golden child. That was my older brother Adam. I was just there, the default helper. The one who stayed quiet so my parents could manage the louder ones. I did chores without being asked. Covered for Kelsey when she snuck out. Helped Adam with his car payments when he blew his summer job money. My parents praised me with a pat on the back and a "we don't have to worry about Ryan." I guess that meant they didn't have to think about me either. The road trip was my dad's idea. Some last summer together before everyone moves on kind of thing. A loop through the Midwest, visiting national parks, and staying at motels that smelled like old AC units and disappointment. I didn't argue. I even offered to help plan it. I built the itinerary, mapped the route, printed backup directions in case Dad's GPS failed. But when we left, Adam sat in the front seat. Kelsey picked the music. I rode in the back, next to a cooler that leaked all over my bag. Typical. The joke started somewhere in Nebraska. We'd stopped at a gas station, middle of nowhere, dusty town with one blinking light, and a diner that looked like it hadn't updated the menu since the 60s. I went inside to grab water and some snacks. When I came back out, the van was gone. At first, I thought they were just moving it. Or maybe Dad had parked around back. I walked the lot twice, then 3 times. The gas station clerk looked at me funny. "You lose your ride?" she asked, cracking gum between every word. "Just waiting," I mumbled, checking my phone. No messages. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. I tried calling. No answer. Eventually, Adam picked up, snickering before hanging up. That was when it sank in. They'd done this on purpose. A prank. Or what they would call a prank. Another call. This time it was Kelsey. "Let's see if you can find your way back, Magellan," she laughed. "Maybe you'll finally grow a personality." They thought it was funny. Character building. My mom later said it was a bonding moment for the rest of us. I sat on the curb outside that gas station for 3 hours before the clerk finally came out and offered me a bottle of orange soda. "You okay, hon?" she asked. I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. They didn't come back. At least not that day. Or the next. When I finally got a ride into the next town with a trucker named Hank, whose silence was more comforting than any of my family's laughter, I used what little cash I had to buy a bus ticket. I didn't go home. I went to a friend's place 3 states away. Slept on his couch. Took a dishwashing job. Told him it was temporary. It wasn't. My phone buzzed nonstop the first week. Then less. Then not at all. When I finally checked voicemail, there was a message from Mom. "It's been 3 days. Enough already. Come back and stop being dramatic." Dramatic. That was the word they always used when I tried to speak up. When I said it hurt to be the afterthought. When I said it felt like I didn't matter unless they needed a ride or a favor. I didn't call them back. I didn't answer the messages. And after a while, they stopped trying. I got a job. Then a second one. Moved into a studio. Went back to school, quietly, online. Built something for myself, piece by piece. No credit cards in Dad's name. No loans co-signed by Mom. No social media. Just distance. Peace. Years passed. I met people who saw me. Not for what I could do for them, but for who I was. I stopped apologizing for existing. And eventually, I stopped looking back. Until last month. I was working late, still do tech support, freelance now, better hours, and my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Then another. Then a flood. One after the other. When I checked, it wasn't just unknown numbers. It was them. Mom. Adam. Kelsey. Even Dad. Texts. Missed calls. Voicemails. A total of 107. And then came the message that froze me in place. "Ryan, we need to talk. It's about Grandma." But it wasn't about Grandma. Not really. That was just the excuse. Because when they finally found me, it wasn't grief in their eyes. It was desperation. I didn't respond. Not right away. I sat in the dark with my phone screen glowing against my palm, scrolling through the messages. Some were short. "Just call me." Others were more emotional. My mom's were peppered with guilt-wrapped phrases like, "We didn't know you felt that way," and "It was never meant to go that far." Kelsey sent a selfie of her and some kid with the caption, "Your niece wants to meet you." Smiley face, like that would erase everything. Adam's was the most direct. "You ghosted your whole family over a joke. Grow up." A joke. 15 years of silence over a joke. I powered off the phone, but I couldn't sleep. All night, my mind churned. Not with regret, but with disbelief. I'd built a life. Quiet, stable, my own. And now the people who tossed me aside like a spare sock had suddenly remembered I existed? Because of Grandma? I wasn't heartless. Grandma had been kind to me when no one else really was. She used to slip me $5 bills, just for being polite. She once told me, in a whisper over mashed potatoes, "You see everything, don't you?" I never forgot that. So yeah, the thought of her being gone hit me in the chest. But I also knew my family, knew how they operated. Emotion was just a means to an end. Guilt was currency, and I had a feeling they were cashing in. I waited a week. During that time, I kept a burner phone nearby and started collecting threats. Quiet inquiries. A few searches. A LinkedIn visit here, a Facebook scroll there. I didn't post or respond, just observed. It didn't take long to piece it together. Grandma had passed 3 months ago. They didn't tell me then. No, the 107 calls started after the reading of the will. And I was in it. Heavily. Grandma had left me her house. A paid-off little place in the suburbs I remembered visiting only twice as a kid. Once during a thunderstorm, once at Christmas when she made peppermint cocoa from scratch. She'd also left me her savings, apparently. Nothing massive, but enough. More than enough to turn heads. More than enough to cause 107 missed calls. I wasn't just the estranged one anymore. I was the inconvenient legal owner of something they wanted. And if I knew my family, they'd show up smiling, pretending they'd miss me. That we were all just kids back then, and I should let bygones be bygones. So I made a plan. I didn't answer their calls. But I called the estate attorney. Confirmed everything. Updated my address. Verified the deed transfer. I booked a flight to the city where I was now, somehow, a property owner. And then I did something that startled even me. I went home. Not to their home. I never had one there. But to Grandma's. The house was small, clean, and smelled faintly of lavender and old paper. Her belongings were still intact, boxed neatly by the corners, probably by them, before they realized they couldn't sell it without me. Her photos were all still there. Except mine. Not a single one. Just Adam's graduation, Kelsey's prom, family barbecues I was never invited to. I recognized the backdrop of one from the road trip. The trip that ended without me. I stood in that living room for a long time. Then I opened my laptop, connected to the Wi-Fi, and got to work. Changed the locks. Filed a change of mailing address. I wasn't sure what I'd do with the house yet. Sell it? Rent it? Maybe move in for a while, just to breathe air untainted by obligation. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Mom. I answered. There was a pause, as if she couldn't quite believe I'd picked up. "Ryan?" she asked, cautiously. I didn't reply. We didn't know you were coming back. We thought you were still angry. Still. As if anger had a shelf life. As if 15 years could dissolve betrayal into water under the bridge. "I came to see the house," I said flatly. "You could have told us," she replied, her voice rising slightly. "We were planning to stop by this week. Talk things through. Maybe come to some kind of agreement." Agreement. There it was. It wasn't about Grandma. It wasn't about grief. It was about assets. "I already spoke to the attorney," I said. Her voice sharpened. "Ryan, don't be difficult. You're not the only grandchild. Adam and Kelsey didn't get left anything," I cut in. "And I think we both know why." Silence. Then, just above a whisper, she said, "You can't seriously be planning to keep the house." "I can. And I am." Another beat of silence. Then, "You owe us more than this." That was when the shift happened. Inside me. Because no matter how much time passed, no matter how many jobs I held or degrees I earned or friends I made, they would always see me as the placeholder. The background character. The one they could leave behind and still sleep soundly. "I owe you nothing," I said. Then I hung up. The next call came 20 minutes later. This time, it was Adam. I didn't answer. Then Kelsey. Then Mom again. I watched the missed calls rack up. 108, 109, 112, and then came the knock on the door. The knock wasn't aggressive. It was measured, like someone trying really hard to sound calm, controlled, normal. But I'd grown up in that chaos. I knew exactly what false cheer sounded like. I stood in the hallway just past the kitchen, staring at the front door like it was a relic from a different lifetime. A version of me, maybe the teenage Ryan they left at the gas station, might have run to it, might have opened it with a nervous smile, hoping they were sorry. But that Ryan was gone. I waited another knock or two before I stepped forward and opened it, just enough for the screen door to hold the line. Standing outside were all three of them, Adam in his usual smug business casual, sleeves rolled up like he was about to deliver a TED Talk. Kelsey, clutching her oversized purse and a Starbucks drink she hadn't finished. And my mom, who looked like she'd dressed up for a church she hadn't believed in for years. Ryan, she said with a breathy smile, like we just bumped into each other at the grocery store. Adam chimed in, there he is. I didn't say anything. We just wanted to talk, Mom continued, glancing around the porch like she was worried the neighbors might hear. Clear the air. You left so suddenly after everything. You mean after you left me? I said, still holding the screen door shut. Adam sighed, rubbing his temple like I was being exhausting. Look, man, we were kids. It was a stupid joke. We were just messing around. You were 19, I said, and I wasn't in on the joke. Kelsey leaned in. We said we were sorry. No, I replied. You said I was dramatic. That's not an apology. Her smile flickered. So what? You're gonna just cut us out of everything? Because of something that happened 15 years ago? I raised an eyebrow. You mean like when you cut me out of every holiday, every birthday, every family update? Like that. Mom's voice wavered. We didn't know how to reach you. You had no problem finding me when Grandma's will came through. That hit. I saw it in her eyes. In the tight pinch of Adam's jaw. In the way Kelsey suddenly found the edge of her cup very interesting. You know Grandma would have wanted us to stick together, Mom said gently, softening her tone. She always loved having us all under one roof. She left this house to me, I said plainly. That was her final word. Adam stepped forward, hand casually on the screen handle. Come on, man. You don't even live here. You're not planning to stay, right? You could sign it over. We could sell it, split it. Make it fair. Fair. I almost laughed. Fair. Like fairness had ever factored into anything they did. Like fairness was part of stranding your youngest sibling in the middle of Nebraska to teach him a lesson. I think I'm going to hold on to it for now, I said. Kelsey groaned. Are you serious? You haven't even been here in years. This isn't your home. I looked around the small porch. The wind chimes I remembered from my childhood visits still hung from the eave, faded and clinking softly. The rose bushes she'd planted were blooming pink and overgrown, wild in their beauty. I looked back at my sister and said, maybe not. But it's not yours either. Adam lost the pretense then. You're making a mistake. If you do this, don't expect any of us to be there when you change your mind. Noted, I said, and began to close the door. But my mom stopped it with her hand. Ryan, she said, eyes narrowing now, don't throw away your family over a house. I leaned against the frame. You already threw me away. This is just the first time you've realized it might cost you something. She stared at me, her hand still pressed to the doorframe, her nails perfectly manicured like always. Then, with a sharp breath, she stepped back. Adam turned without another word. Kelsey lingered, like she wanted to say something clever, but couldn't find the right tone. I closed the door, locked it, and for the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar wash over me. Power. They weren't in control anymore. They couldn't guilt me. They couldn't gaslight me into thinking I was too sensitive, too silent, too forgettable. I'd been silent, but I'd never forgotten. Later that evening, I walked through the house, room by room. I found Grandma's old letters, tied in string, her recipes in the drawer. A photo I didn't expect, in the back of a worn album of me and her on that Christmas visit. Just the two of us, laughing over cocoa. She hadn't forgotten me either. That night, I made tea in her old kettle, sat in her chair by the window, and let the quiet settle. Then my phone buzzed again. A new number. A voicemail. When I played it, Adam's voice came through. You think you've won something? You don't even know what you're holding. You think Grandma left it to you out of love? Keep digging, little brother. You'll wish you never did. The message ended. And for the first time in 15 years, I felt something close to fear. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Grandma's old chair, the one with the cushion that had molded to her frame over years of crosswords and Sunday morning coffee, and listened to that voicemail on loop. You don't even know what you're holding. That line got under my skin. It wasn't just spite. There was something in Adam's voice, tight, bitter, a little panicked. It didn't sound like a bluff. He was angry, yes, but also threatened. And that was new. Adam had never once looked at me as anything more than an underfoot inconvenience. Whatever Grandma left me, it wasn't just the house. The next morning, I pulled out the boxes they'd packed up and left in the corner of the living room. Neatly labeled. Books, photos, kitchen. The usual. I dug through them carefully, opening every envelope, flipping through every notebook. It was halfway through a box marked linens, towels, old blankets, a pair of slippers still in their packaging, that I found something strange. It was a flat, black notebook, sandwiched between folded sheets. At first glance, it looked like a plain ledger. But when I flipped it open, the first page was addressed directly to me. Ryan, if you're reading this, then you've come home, and I hope you're safe. I didn't tell them. I didn't tell anyone. But you were always the one who paid attention. That's why I'm leaving this to you. My hands tightened around the edge of the paper. The next few pages laid out something I never expected. Grandma had been quietly investing for decades, stocks, real estate, some small startups before they took off. She'd never talked about it, kept everything under the radar. She mentioned it once, apparently, to my mom, who shrugged it off as old lady delusions. But she hadn't been delusional. Far from it. She was worth a lot. The house wasn't just a sentimental gift, it was the key to the entire portfolio. The deed came with full rights to several trust accounts, all linked through a shell company Grandma had set up in her early 60s. And the beneficiary of it all? Me. Not my mom. Not Adam. Not Kelsey. Just me. There were instructions. Passcodes. A safety deposit box number. A second key taped under the back cover of the notebook. I sat back in the chair and laughed, once, soft and disbelieving. Not because I found it funny, but because it finally made sense. The desperation in their voices. The timing of the calls. The visit. The threats. They didn't want the house. They wanted everything tied to it. Later that week, I took a trip downtown to the bank listed in the notebook. The deposit box was real. Inside, I found original documents, stock certificates, a thumb drive, and a sealed envelope with my name on it in Grandma's careful, looping handwriting. I waited until I got back to the house to open it. My dear boy, I don't know where life took you, but if you're reading this, I trust you found your way. I always knew you would. I saw how they treated you, and it broke my heart. But I also knew someday they'd need you more than you needed them. I built this for you because I believed in you when no one else did. Do what you want with it. Build something. Start fresh. Or just breathe without them pulling at you. You've earned that. And remember, silence isn't weakness. Sometimes, it's strategy. Love always, Grandma, I cried. For the first time in years, I really cried. Not just for the years I'd lost, but for the simple, quiet truth that someone had seen me, had loved me without conditions or demands, and had trusted me enough to leave it all in my hands. The next day, I contacted the estate lawyer again. Not to sell, not to cash out, but to transfer everything carefully, smartly into a new trust. One under a different name. One that couldn't be traced back to the family unless I wanted it to be. I started moving pieces, setting up protections, making sure they couldn't touch a cent without going through me. And then I invited them back. It was a Saturday when they showed up. Same lineup. Mom, Adam, Kelsey. They looked tired, worn down. I could see the rehearsed apologies waiting in their throats. This time, I opened the door wide and motioned them inside. They stepped in like they belonged there. Like they still thought there was a version of this where we all hugged and made up, and I handed over the keys. I didn't offer drinks. I didn't ask how they'd been. I sat across from them in Grandma's kitchen, notebook in front of me, and let the silence stretch long enough for them to sweat. Finally, Mom cleared her throat. We're glad you called. It's been a lot. Losing her. Thinking about everything that's happened between us. I nodded. It has. Adam leaned forward, folding his hands. So, we heard some things. About the trust. About the house. And we figured, maybe we could come to some kind of agreement. Kelsey, always the opportunist, jumped in. You've always been the smart one. No one's saying you don't deserve something. But it was Grandma. She loved all of us. She wouldn't want us divided. I looked at them, calm and steady. She didn't leave anything to you, I said. Mom flinched. She made a mistake. I shook my head. No. She made a choice. Adam's tone turned hard. You think you're better than us now? No, I said. I've always been better than how you treated me. Kelsey rolled her eyes. So what? You're just going to cut us off? Over something that happened 15 years ago? I was 18, I replied. You left me at a gas station and drove away laughing. I slept in a stranger's truck that night. I ate crackers for dinner. I could have vanished and none of you would have known for weeks. You abandoned me. That's not a prank. That's not a phase. That's the line you drew. I just finally decided to honor it. Mom's lip trembled. Ryan, please. No, I said firmly. This is how it ends. I stood up, took the notebook and the envelope, walked them to the door. Whatever you thought you'd get from this house, let it go. It's done. Adam clenched his fists. You'll regret this. I smiled. No, you will. Because for once in your life, you can't lie, manipulate, or guilt your way out of the truth. You're just going to have to live with it. I closed the door behind them, and this time, no one knocked again. In the months that followed, I stayed in the house, fixed it up, started working from the home office I built in what used to be Grandma's sewing room. I started dating again, found peace in small things, watering her roses, playing music on her old stereo, reading her cookbooks. And sometimes, I'd find another note she left behind, tucked in a drawer, scrawled in the margins of a crossword, written in the back of a photo album. She'd planned this. All of it. She saw them for what they were. And she saw me for what I could become. I wasn't the forgotten one anymore. I was the heir. Not to a fortune. To freedom.